Alright, today we're having a look at Librarian's Mansion Part 2, Basement of Death by Goofmaster98. Alright, so here we are in Librarian's Mansion 2, Basement of Death. Hello, fellow sack person. Looks like you're stranded on here. We all are. Can't do much, just hanging on this wall. Librarian made this place. We called him. His name shall not be mentioned. Good luck. Ooh, we're getting a story. This is a follow-up to Librarian's Mansion Part 1 that we looked at not too long ago, I believe, from the Goofmaster98. That was silly of me. I still just love that name. It's a fabulous name. Oh, I see where we're going. Okay. I do want to apologize right off the bat. My voice is pretty messed up this morning. Oh, we got a little pumpkin head. We got ghosts. I love it. Yeah, I had to do like 6 billion recordings yesterday, and it was so many. Really liking the look of it so far. I do feel like things are still a little bit over deep for presentation. Thank you for not killing me, by the way. Wait, Bisco, please. It's swinging time. It's like clobbering time, but for swinging. I'm all over the place, but this is quaint. This is sweet. I'm digging it. Goofmaster was kind enough to kind of give me a heads up. Oh, don't get stuck. No, don't get stuck. We don't have time for this the load. Okay, thank God. Goofmaster was kind enough to grab my elbow and tell me that this level had just come out. Unfortunately, it was... Oh my God, the robot rats. These are fabulous. They don't seem to be deadly, but that's okay. It's the king. There's so much going on. I love it. Right. Yes, unfortunately I was on break, so I could not look at this when the level first came out, so I'm really glad that they were chill enough to say, hey, don't worry about it, just skip to it when you can if you want to. Very kind, honestly. I didn't get a chance to read that because I know like time is of the essence. I felt like we were going to be riding those cogs. Are you dangerous? Like, I don't want to get myself killed, but I feel kind of bad now that I'm killing these rats because I don't know if the rats are actually dangerous or not. Elevator gates are closed. How are we going to get out? I don't know, mate. Oh, these poor ghosts and like cardboard sack things. They're stuck. They're trapped. Rats? I'm not going to kill this one, okay? I'm going to be good. I'm not going to kill it. I'm going to let it go. I'm not like, there doesn't seem to be too much... Oh. Doesn't seem to be too much hazardous in the level, which is not necessarily... Oh, did I accidentally kill it? Oh God, I'm so sorry, rat. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we talked about that in the last Goofmaster level. Oh, fudge! Okay, we're gonna go back to the hub. I'm enjoying myself. I think it's a lot of fun, but we'll talk about it there, and we'll see yas. And we're back, and Librarian's Mansion 2, The Basement of Death by Goofmaster98, and I had a really good time with it. I do feel like it is a yellow square, but I think it's a pretty strong yellow square, and I think it's definitely a step up from Librarian's Mansion 1 that we looked at a couple weeks back, sometime last month, and definitely kind of keeps Goofmaster98 on my radar as somebody whose levels I'd like to play on stream and maybe get a couple more levels in the archives. Now, along with this level, Goofmaster did mention that they'd put together a hub world called Power of Memories, and I played through that too, and I really liked it, and I think that both of these levels do show off the strength of Goofmaster as a presenter. I think that the levels just like look really nice. They've got like a real good mood to them. There's a lot of vibrancy and energy in Power of Memories, and you've got like the way that the level is kind of themed around the different levels that Goofmaster is presenting to the players. So you've got one that's kind of in the canyons, and there's like a canyon theming around that area, and then you've got there's one in the wilderness, and so you've got some wilderness theming up there, and I really love that. I played a lot of hub levels levels, and a lot of times they're just kind of like a bunch of doors or level links, and nothing really presented to the player. I really appreciate that Goofmaster's gone through the extra trouble of actually making this a level, and my only complaint in Power Memories is I do wish that there had been a scoreboard in it. I realize that kind of the purpose of the level is that the players are probably going to be jumping out into the levels that are being introduced, so they wouldn't really interact with the scoreboard, but not everybody's going to find something that they want to play, and I do just kind of like having scoreboards and levels just for like my archiving, so I don't have to pause it and just have it like stop dead, but that's a little quibble. But I do want to mention that because, as I said, I do feel like presentation is definitely a strong point for a Goofmaster, and we see that in Librarian's Mansion 2 in particular, where I think it's a lot more cohesive. There's really great material choices done in the level. I like that chipped wood. I think it's from Ziggurat. I've never actually used it. I'm not sure if it would fit in with my particular style of builds, but I really do like it, and I kind of want to figure out something to do with it because it looks really nice here. You've got like a lot of characters in the level that I really appreciated. They all chat a little bit. One thing about that though is that when the players, when the characters do talk to Sackthing, and a lot of times it goes into a cutscene camera so that you don't have any control over your character, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but for two of the occasions there's a score chain right in front of them, and it's really hard to get that entire set of bubbles without actually triggering the dialogue from the character that's in the environment, and that's a little bit of a shame. I did like all of the characters though. They're all really fun and neat and interact with. They introduce the continuing story of what's going on in the series, that we've been trapped by this character called Pumpkinhead, who, okay, real talk for a second, Pumpkinhead will always be the 1998 Lance Henriksen horror movie about a spoopy vengeance demon in the Ozarks. Not the Ozarks, but like in the backwoods. I love the movie. It's great. I saw it when I was a kid, and anyways, that's always gonna be my Pumpkinhead. Not this Pumpkinhead, but this Pumpkinhead is really cool, and I do appreciate the detail that we see Pumpkinhead kind of peeping at us throughout the level. We get a really good look like early on in the level, and then we see like in the corner of a little area kind of peeking at us, and I thought that was really cool, again, to kind of give a thread that is making the level cohere a little bit better along with the previous level in this story. So that's all really cool. I appreciate that it seems like Goofmaster did take my advice in the last review, where I said in the last review, you got a lot of areas in Librarian's Mansion 1 where they're just like, they're depth for decoration, but nothing that you could really do back there, and it's like, that's really cool. Having the depth in the levels really makes it look like a more complete environment, and I appreciate that a lot. But if the player's not going to be able to interact with those areas, then maybe blocking them off with something invisible so that you can't get back there and maybe get stuck is a good idea, and we do see that in Librarian's Mansion 2. I think there's only one area where you can kind of access backwards where you probably shouldn't, but it doesn't get you killed or anything. But the use of depth for decoration, I think, is really well handled here. You've got this really nice bit with the king in the like a lost and found box and tucked away in the back, and it just looks really cool. This level looks really great, and if it were only presentation alone, I probably would give it a green circle because I just really liked going through the level as an environment. The issues I do see in this level, and it's similar to issues that I saw in the previous level in the series, is where that presentation interacts negatively with the gameplay, because we've got a lot of these like platforms that are really too deep, and they're getting it to the point where like you don't really have to interact with a number of the enemies that are in the level. We saw that in Librarian's Mansion 1 as well. There's like a ghost enemy here that you could just walk right around. You never need to deal with it. There's mice. I do appreciate that the enemies are themed a little bit better for the environment that they're in. That part was really cool. I don't know if the mice could actually kill me or if they were just kind of in the way. I felt bad about killing them, but I also kind of wanted to have a really good score. evil, I guess, but like they fit a little bit better, so that was kind of cool. But like they're never a hazard because you could just walk around them because of the depth of the areas that you're in, and this kind of does interact a little bit negatively with some of the platforming elements later on. You've got a bit where you've got a moving bit on a piston. You're gonna jump over it, jump onto it. There's some bottles on it, and like it's a platform. You ride it across and get to the other side. The problem is that there's like a rounded bit of material that's acting as kind of like a boundary to where that piston is. It's more of an environmental effect, and it looks really nice. Like it looks really cool. But you could just jump up onto it because it's one layer thick, which allows you to completely ignore the actual like obstacle that Goofmaster wants you to interact with, which is that moving bit on the piston. We see this later on with a climbing section where you've got like the climbable bit is going to be raised up on a piston that you're going to trip the switch for, and that climbable bit is actually like one layer deep. So instead of actually climbing on it as intended, you could just jump up on top of it and then just ride it along to where you're supposed to go. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, it doesn't really damage the level in any way, but it's clearly not the intent of Goofmaster for players to interact with it in that way. So for these situations, like having things just in the thin layer only is a much better choice because it'll force the players to interact with what you want them to interact with. Now, sometimes you get into issues where it's like your background layer, you know, your background material is a thin layer, so you can't put a thin layer on top of it normally, but if you put a physics tweaker on there and make it so that it only interacts with sack thing, and then you could place it right on top, like a thin layer on top of a thin layer, and it change where they sit. Like in the tweakable menu, you could change so that they come up a little bit forward so that they don't look like they're V-clipping, and that'll let you get around that problem if that is in fact the issue. But yeah, like climbable sections, they should only be a thin layer deep, and like anything that the player's not going to naturally be able to walk on, that should just either be inaccessible or it should just be a thin layer so that it doesn't like get in the way of their platforming. Something else that was kind of bugging me just a little bit with the level, I mentioned the score chains earlier. I do love numbers going up. I love getting point bubbles in levels. I think that's great. But the way that Goofmaster has them set up here, and it's like you've got to hop to get to them. Like you can't just like smoothly run and collect every score bubble. So it's like hop, 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 and maybe you miss one, you gotta hop backwards, and like it just slows you down unnecessarily. Like sometimes we want players to slow down to kind of like take in the environment or take in the scene of what's going on if we got like a big set piece, but it seems like we're slowing the players down here to no real effect. So just like having those bubbles in a row, or even just like lowered down a little bit so that the player's going to be able to catch all of them in a smooth run, and I think that would have been a bit of a better choice overall. There's a hook hat in the level. It's not really a big problem. I think that the rail is a little bit, maybe the rail's like a little bit too dark for the other materials in that area. It's a little bit easy to miss, but it's also like you can die in that area, but you're probably not gonna, and if you pay attention, you will notice where the rail is. Now, speaking of paying attention, the last thing that did get me about this level, and I do think it's kind of like the lowest point of the level. You come to an area where you've got these two kind of, they look like evil Olafs from Frozen, and the jaws are going to be dropping down. There's spikes on the upper jaw, so like you jump on the lower jaw as a platform and then jump to the next one, and then you're going to jump across and you'll be safe. And you know, it's a pretty common type of obstacle slash hazard. We've seen it all the way back since LBP 1. In the weddings, it shows up a bunch. It's easy peasy. But the jaws, the timing on the pistons that are operating those jaws are not in sync with each other. And it's really easy to get into a situation where like you'll jump on the lower jaw, you'll jump on the first jaw expecting the second one to drop down, and it doesn't. Like, it drops down way later, so you end up getting squished by the spikes because you can't get over to the original platform. You can't get back up there, and you can't go over to the next platform because it hasn't dropped down yet. I really think that the timing in that section should be played with a little bit, so like you don't necessarily need to have them both down at the same time. Like you can fiddle with it so that there's a little less wiggle room, where like the first jaw is coming up while maybe the second jaw is dropping down, and so that you've got to be careful when you're jumping across. But like to have them desynced like that, and it's really tough to read like if there's actually a consistent pattern where you could like wait for that pattern and get across safely, or if it's just like it feels random. It's not, I'm sure it's not, but it feels that way, and it's just like it's kind of frustrating, and it's really easy to die there if you're not paying attention. And the first time that you play through, you're probably not going to be paying that kind of attention because nothing else in the level has required it so far. But like that's the one thing that I do think like really ought to be changed. The rest of the level is really fun. It's not like a super challenging level, but it is a delight to play through. It's a delight to look at. I love the environment, as I said, and I really do look forward to seeing more from Goofmaster in the future. I've enjoyed what I've seen from them. So thank you so much, Goofmaster, for pointing this out. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad to take a look at your stuff, and we'll probably be taking a look at more of your stuff on streams. But I'm pretty sure that I've said everything that I have to say about this one. Go give it a play. I do recommend it. So from me, Risco, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.